To the Point with Michael Williams.
Just before the deadline to register to vote, a major computer glitch with the state system slows the process for those people trying to sign up and vote. Good morning, I'm Jon Shainman in for a vacationing Michael Williams. The state's online voter sign-up system was called a mess by the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections. And Susan Bucher is here to talk about why she described it that way and whether we can expect more problems like that one. Ms. Bucher, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
A lot to get to. First, let's start with the problem with the online registration that happened last week. How did you notice that something was wrong?
Well, on a daily basis, we get suspended records from the state. It's the state's website, registertovoteflorida.gov. And obviously on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we expected to get a lot. The deadline was Tuesday. We did not. We get one or two or one. And on Tuesday morning, after Monday's holiday, people were lined up out the door of our main office before 8 o'clock in the morning. They were very irate and angry. They had been trying to use the system all weekend, and they were receiving an error message. And they received that error message many, many times all through the weekend, and the deadline was Tuesday. And so we resoundingly knew because our voters told us so. In contacting the state really did not respond to anything that we sent them. We called, we emailed. I got an email back from the division director of the Division of Elections that said she'd check with our IT. We're suspecting that about noon, 1 o'clock, they probably fixed it because we didn't get the error message any longer. And then the secretary went on the news and said, currently, voters are registering online. Well, we just want to know what happened Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and most of Tuesday.
So there was still 3 or 4 days where we're not quite sure what happened at that point. Is that what you're saying?
Well, we're not quite sure. The state handles the website, and we passed legislation in 2015. The supervisors passed the legislation to have online voter registration. We agreed that the implementation could take a while, so we gave them 1.5 years and $1.8 million of our tax dollars. And unfortunately, this is not the first time we have seen this system go down.
I was going to say, was there a similar problem before the primary? Is that what happened?
That's correct.
Okay.
There was an identical problem right before the primary, and unfortunately, the state is never willing to acknowledge that there is a problem. I just want to get to the bottom of this. You know, it disenfranchises our citizens when there's a deadline to register to vote to 29 days before the election, and they had the thought that they would use the online system that should work, and it didn't.
Now, did any of your staff members try it over the weekend as well? Could anybody get in? Did you have the same problems?
I tried it, reporters tried it. We kept getting the same error message on Tuesday morning, but yet there's no acknowledgement. Apparently there was a statement put out that the service was intermittent because there was so much traffic. That is flat not true, and based on public records, we can prove that.
And how many people then on Tuesday did you get to register to vote?
Well, we're not sure. The numbers keep changing as we look at them, but it appears that we had anywhere from on Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning it said 200, and today it says 937. So I have a feeling that it's 937 records, but that happened in the late afternoon, and unfortunately that was the deadline. Tuesday was the deadline to register to vote in order to be eligible in the November 6th election.
That's it right now.
That's it.
Right? So if you have not registered to vote in Palm Beach County or
anywhere in the state,
anywhere in the state, can't do it then at this point.
Can't vote.
What's the solution then?
Well, the solution is to fix the website. You know, we're the largest swing state in the United States, and, you know, we're the 3rd largest state in the nation. We gave a lot of money allocated through the legislature to establish this website. There was a lot of pushback from the secretary and the governor, and unfortunately, they must not have done a good job because right before the book closing, the deadline in the primary, it went down, and once again, we see it go down in the general election. My goal is not to tag anybody for fault. My goal is to get it fixed. The citizens of the state of Florida expect it. It is law, and it should work.
Do you think that this undermines the confidence that people have in the system? I mean, that's, you know, everybody wants to know that their vote will count.
Well, if they can't cast a ballot, their vote doesn't count, and that's the bottom line, is that I believe that it robs citizens of their democracy when they cannot expect the things that are supposed to be provided work.
All right, so that kind of moves into election security. It was 2 years ago, there were allegations of election tampering in some states. Moves were made to beef up security and things of that nature. Do we have a more secure system today than we did 2 years ago?
We do, and I have to say that, you know, we've always monitored our election security, and here in Palm Beach County, we're fortunate. We belong to a very large county that has spent millions of dollars hardening our system. We're behind the county's firewall, and since 2016, we have added certain filters on our oversight of the system to make sure that we can monitor the hits. We know that people have always tried to get into our database because we contain personal information. It's like that throughout the country. And so we've always been aware that we need to have that kind of security. There's tremendous emphasis these days on election security. We now have critical infrastructure, that's our voting equipment, and we are laser focused on cybersecurity, and I can assure you that we have tested it with the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, and we're good to go this year.
All right, we've heard a lot about voting by mail. Things are becoming more popular. People don't want to stand in long lines. You've brought a mail-in ballot. What kind of numbers are you looking at right now that people have requested this?
We're looking at historic numbers right now. We're blowing through the numbers from the presidential election. So far, right now, we have mailed out almost 180,000 vote-by-mail ballots. And in the 2016 general election, we mailed 170,416. In the 2014 general election, the last midterm, we mailed 116,611. So we're getting about 5,000 to 7,000 requests every day now, and we expect that, you know, right now already we've exceeded the general election for a presidential.
And how many voters, registered voters, do we have in the county right now?
We have about 929,000 registered voters.
And then we were talking just before we came on air, there's a lot to this ballot. People really need to take the time to go through the ballot and be prepared when they go into the ballot box, right?
Well, they do. You know, we have a lot of amendments, a lot of ballot questions, and we have some of the most weighty elections this year that we've probably ever seen. There's a lot of emphasis on the governor's race, a lot of emphasis on our U.S. Senate race. You have down ballot state senators, state representatives, county commission. There is so much to vote on in terms of candidates. But once you get through the first page is candidates. Second page is questions. Face of the second card is questions. Face of the third page is questions. So we've mailed these ballots at least 30 days before the election, and we're hoping that our constituents are out there studying these ballot questions. They become familiar. You know, once every 20 years, we have this commission that meets. It's called the Constitution Revision Commission. They have the ability to put ballot questions on the ballot, and they did. They placed 8 ballot questions on the ballot, but the ballot questions, unusually so, contained 23 actual questions. So in many cases, there is a ballot question that contains more than one item, and they are wholly unrelated. I think that's a disservice to our voters. We're getting a lot of complaints once the ballots went out that, you know, if I like one section but I don't like the other section, what do I do? Well, you have to weigh your decision and determine how much you like the one thing and how much you don't like the other one.
So it's very important that voters are informed before they cast their ballot. Now, and also there's the question for the schools, which is at the very end, right?
The law requires that local questions go on the very end of the ballot. And the ballot question for the school board is asking to increase a tax that we currently have from $0.25 per $1,000 value of your property to $1. And that is as a result of the mandates that the legislature passed that apparently weren't fully funded and for security after the MSD incident.
In terms of I mean, you just mentioned the numbers for the vote by mail. What kind of percentages? I know you kind of hate to guess at this stage of the game, but are we looking at presidential levels for this election, you think?
If the vote by mail ballot requests are valid and we have the same proportion of voters vote those ballots, we're going to blow through the presidential election numbers this year.
In terms of Hurricane Michael is going to have a big impact on the election. Have you had a chance to talk to many of your colleagues on the Panhandle about how they're going to get prepared now with less than a month to go and some communities completely wiped off the map?
Well, we've heard from every supervisor except for the Bay County supervisor. That is where the major impact was. Everybody is getting back together and trying to get their systems back up. We're in the middle of shooting ballots. We're in election mode. And so I feel for my colleagues, we've offered help. We'll go there, we'll send them whatever they need, but I believe that we'll get back on track. There is a general emphasis with the federal aid coming in because we are now considered critical infrastructure. So there is some major emphasis, but yes, I do think that voters, if they had their ballot on a kitchen table and the kitchen table's gone, they don't have a ballot anymore. They don't have an address to be mailed. Unfortunately, there's a very stringent law that says if you want your ballot mailed to an address other than the address that you're registered to vote at, then you have to put it in writing with your signature. I don't know that a lot of people are thinking about their ballot and how to get another one if their house is gone.
Right, they're just trying to get back on their feet, although it's a very important, I'm sure a lot of those folks do want to to get out and vote.
Oh, absolutely. And so I really don't know the disposition. We haven't received any kind of update from the state level as to what the game plan is, but we are a very hardy crew of supervisors in the state of Florida, and I will guarantee you that we will pull through this. We're a team. We will get together with our colleagues who were impacted, and we will make sure that they have assistance from wherever they need to get it from.
Susan Bucher, we wish you good luck on Election Day. Thanks for taking the time out with us. The countdown is on, as they say.
It is.
Coming up next, the hurricane's impact on politics in Florida. Our roundtable is taking up that and more when we come back.